So this video is going to be about the Adam Audio A7V monitors. But in order for me to explain why these monitors are great for me right now and why they might be great for you, I have to tell you a lot about my goals and purposes and things like that. And after watching a bunch of other studio monitor reviews, I am now going to explain how and why I am going to break every rule of reviewing monitors. So I'll be honest, I was trying to figure out a way to hold the speakers up the entire time as I talked about them, but it was looking really stupid and also it's kind of pointless. This is what they look like. Here's a picture. That's what I'm talking about. Let's just move on and continue. Before we continue, I should just let you know that I'm actually not going to play the speakers at all in this video because, well, if you don't know, listening to the quality of speakers through a microphone, through YouTube on your speakers is a huge waste of time. If you're a guitar player, you might think that tone demos are almost always a waste of time, and I agree with you. A lot of the times you're not really hearing anything besides the guitar player. Speaker demos are an even bigger waste of time. So rather than play back audio on a speaker so you can listen to it on your speaker, I'll tell you about my context and why this might be great for you if you're a guitar player, and especially if you record direct with like an Axe-FX or any other multi-effects interface type unit. So if you didn't watch the last video, I'll catch you up. I'm a musician, I'm a guitar player, and I make content here on YouTube. And I recently switched my living situations and I had the opportunity to create this music studio / YouTube studio with the goal of creating as much music and YouTube videos as efficiently as possible. Now, in my opinion, the most efficient way to record guitar, especially if you're in a smaller space, an apartment like I am right now, is to just go direct into some type of interface. And here's why. When you're recording guitar the traditional way, you go guitar into a cable, into a cabinet, and then there's a microphone that records the cabinet, and then that microphone has to go into an interface that goes into some type of computer, and you're going to do some type of thing on it afterward. So that's a lot of different steps in the chain. By comparison, when you're going direct, you just have your guitar into a cable, into an interface, which goes into the computer. You don't have to worry about a lot of other things. And on top of that, you don't have to worry about making a lot of noise, and you don't have to worry about the ambient noise coming through your microphones and things like that. Now, I've been recording direct for the entire life of this YouTube channel, but the biggest issue that I've had thus far is the fact that I notice what I'm hearing in the room through my studio monitors is not the same thing that I hear when I record the music and listen back. So I figured out that the issue in my chain here was my monitors. And it was easy to figure that out because it wasn't the guitars and it obviously wasn't the Axe-FX 3, so it had to be the speakers. Well, I guess it could have been me as a guitar player, but anyway, I'm pretty sure it was the monitors. So I mentioned in a different video that I was playing Yamaha speakers, but that was actually incorrect. They were PreSonus speakers, which sound great for listening to YouTube and for watching movies and listening to music in general, but they don't sound great for hearing the nuances of the Axe-FX 3. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. The Axe-FX 3 costs multiple thousands of dollars, and I was listening to them with monitors that cost maybe $100 or $200. It's kind of like when guitar players buy very expensive guitars and then they put the cheapest strings on, or they buy very expensive guitars but then put it on a cheap stand, then it falls over and the neck snaps. For the rest of this video, I'm going to basically explain why the Adam Audio A7Vs are better for my situation than my prior speakers. And a big thank you to Sweetwater for sending me out the Adam A7V speakers for my studio. I'll be honest, I was already planning on saving the money to purchase them myself because I watched a few different guitarists on YouTube who have really great sound and they all use Adam Audio speakers. And so my thought was that, okay, I have the Axe-FX 3, I have nice guitars. If I have great monitors, there's no other excuse for my tone besides my playing. And that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm trying to eliminate as many variables as possible that's not creating the sound that I'm trying to create. And so if you're new to the whole studio world like me, you don't even know exactly what you need, be it sound treatment or specific monitors, etc., you can just call Sweetwater, talk to an expert, and they can walk you through the buying process of what you will actually need for your use case. So thank you again to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video, and check them out if you have any questions whatsoever about guitar, audio, drums, They sell cameras now too. Just go there for all your stuff. Now, the first thing to really understand is how using a multi-effects unit and monitors impact your playing and your ability to actually translate your emotions on the instrument and to an audience. And it's really important to understand this point. If you're playing a specific guitar and you're playing it with a specific tone every single day, that is going to shape the guitar player that you become. For example, let's just use an insane, crazy example. Let's say you were playing with your tone knob rolled all the way down and you could only hear basically low end. You lost all of your high end. Well, if you were playing like that, and let's also say you threw on a compressor, so you lost all of your pick dynamics, the way that you shaped yourself as a guitar player will be totally different. You wouldn't be worrying about where on the string you pluck. You wouldn't be worrying about how hard you pluck the strings and so on, because you lost that giant aspect of what the guitar actually is. And to a lesser degree, that's what happens when you use cheap monitors to listen to yourself while you play guitar and while you record music. Since you're not actually hearing the full thing that's happening with your hands and with the instrument, you're not getting the most out of the process of actually playing the guitar and learning what you sound like on the instrument. And then on top of that, if you have a nice multi-effects unit like an Axe FX3 or a Kemper or whatever other nice unit you have, these units have the ability to really sculpt things on a microscopic level. You can change where the microphone is virtually by a centimeter, and you can change the type of speaker and the type of cabinet. You can change the wood of the cabinet. There's so many different things you can do. But how are you actually going to hear all of those differences if you're not listening to a speaker, a monitor that's capable of reproducing those differences? And the reason I knew this was an issue was because for a while, I switched from listening to monitors and I started going from the Axe FX to an actual speaker cabinet. And then I heard a totally different sound. In fact, if you heard my most recent True Temperament playthrough, everything for those videos was recorded with a microphone on a cabinet instead of going direct, because I got so fed up with the direct tone that I was getting. But going from an Axe FX to a cabinet to a microphone, I just felt like doing that whole big process was starting to defeat the purpose of actually having the ability to record direct. So this next issue that I ran into with my Persona speakers, it has to do with volume, total wattage, and how that translates to different types of units like the Axe FX3. And I'm not exactly sure why this exists. Maybe someone can explain it in the comments below, but the speakers themselves were plenty loud. In fact, they were too loud if I was listening to music or movies. But when I connect them to the Axe FX3, I don't get that same amount of volume without the Axe FX clipping. And it took me a long time to realize that I was actually clipping. I didn't notice until I listened back to my audio and heard it clipping in the actual recording, because in the room, it sounded fine. And so earlier this year, I bought another pair of Persona speakers, but I bought the higher wattage one because I thought, okay, I need more volume so I have more clean headroom. I'll just buy bigger speakers. So I bought bigger speakers and they were louder and that helped a bit, but the sound that I recorded was still not the sound that I was hearing back on YouTube. Now, the second I plugged in the Atom Audio A7V monitors, I heard a huge difference in everything, from music that I listened to on Spotify to my actual profiles on the Axe FX3. In fact, I'm currently in the process of redoing all of my core tones because I now actually know what they sound like correctly for the first time. And this is just one of those situations in the world where you get what you pay for. Atom Audio, they're one of the leading experts in monitor technology, and they have been for many years, and it very clearly shows. So I'm still just getting the hang of these monitors because there's so many different things you can do. For example, right on the back of the monitor, there are these little buttons that you can very quickly adjust to make the monitor sound more accurate in your particular room. And I really like that it's just a few options and a few buttons you can choose because, again, I'm still learning this whole studio monitor and kind of EQ process. And I can very quickly hear the differences with these buttons without having to do a bunch of research with how things work. But the other great thing about these speakers is that they have the ability to kind of grow with you. You can actually connect these speakers to different software and have it map your room and calibrate it a specific way and all of this really fancy stuff. And I'm excited to eventually explore that type of a thing with these speakers. I guess the moral of this story is that it's important to understand what you need to invest in terms of your own studio. I don't honestly think you need to have expensive microphones to get a great sound. This is an expensive microphone, but I would sound very similar with a regular SM57 if I'm being honest. And I also don't think you need expensive pickups to get a great sound. But when it comes to actually listening back to the product and hearing an accurate representation of what you're doing, I do think it makes a bit more sense to invest in a quality pair of speakers. So again, if you're in a home studio or if you're in a small apartment studio, I definitely highly recommend you check out Adam Audio. Even if the A7V speakers are too big for you, check out some of the other speakers. They have other smaller options available, of course. And I think they sound really, really great with the AXFX3 and other modelers in particular, so give that a shot. So I'm really excited to just learn more about this whole audio world. I'm excited to have what I'm actually playing and feeling to start to come across better to you as I learn how to use the speakers to reproduce the sound more accurately. And I think it's just important to understand that this is an actual learning process. You have to train your ears and your mind to understand how all of this works if you're trying to get things accurately represented on camera or on audio if you're just recording albums. So, yeah.